Hey y'all, welcome to episode, I hope that's the right number, 180. I don't even know if it is. I didn't check before I put it in. If it's wrong, and ignore the wrong number at the top. It's just me and James today, because apparently Leo is sick. So he says. Since we have the new YouTube 15-minute Mercy of Grace time limit to play with, hopefully we can do this in fewer parts this time around. I guess first things first, the stupid Android story that's going around the web, like we were talking about a little bit here before we got going.
Sure.
Oops, it might help if I turn the stupid autofocus off. There you go. Okay. I'll let us do that, people. No, I'm with you. It's primarily the sites that are there's three fundamental things wrong with this story, and now everybody gets to accuse me of being an Android fanboy. It's like, oh yeah, you attack Apple, but when Android gets attacked, you have to arm up and defend them like a fanboy. Okay, first off, I'm not saying this isn't a problem. I just feel like people are learning the wrong lessons here. It's the three things I find wrong with this story is A, this wasn't an actual privacy breach. This was a, for lack of a better term, gray hat security firm that released applications to basically train end users not to be idiots. That's the first thing wrong with this that is getting left out of every story, with the exception of two I've seen. The one that reports that the story's been retracted, and like one or two other tech networks. But pretty much the stance the internet's taking on this whole, oh, there's an app that breached Android privacy, is, well, the Android marketplace needs to turn into the Apple marketplace, and until then go buy an iPhone because Apple will protect you. Which brings me to the second thing I find wrong with this, like we were talking about. It's like, Apple doesn't protect you from this. And I've pointed that out a couple of times. They largely protect you from this, but they don't do it 100%. And even though they look at the code for every single app, some things haven't gotten by the defenses. Why those didn't make the news, and the fact that somebody committed the oldest form of credit card fraud known to man through the iTunes store made the news, is beyond my comprehension. I mean, do you have anything to weigh in on those first 2 points or there, or?
Well, I have a question. Why didn't Android, what did the user have to do for this app to take their personal information? Did it do it automatically? I mean,
it does it automatically, and that was actually the whole purpose of this app. When you install something on Android, like when you go in the marketplace, you go in the marketplace, you click on the app, and this little thing pops up. This app wants access to the following things. It'll be a list of exactly what the app's going to do. For obvious reasons, certain apps need to prevent the phone from sleeping, so the phone doesn't turn the screen off in the middle of using the app, and other things like that. Obviously, if you have an app that's organizing your address book, it needs access to your contact list, because it's organizing that information. But this was the equivalent, basically, to a screensaver saying, I need access to your contact information. And that should have been an automatic red flag right there. And people agreed to that. And that was the whole point behind this app. It was like, people, you shouldn't agree to that. You should read this list of what this app's doing. A screensaver does not need... There's a couple of these apps. I forget what the main one that's going around was, but it was like the equivalent to that. I mean, when I'm messing with something that's like the Wi-Fi widget, I know that has access to my Wi-Fi, but it warned me that it needed access to internet connectivity. It's in all those little free apps that are ad-sponsored. They warn you that they have internet connectivity. It's like there's a list of every single function that your device is capable of doing on every single app, and you have to agree to let it have functionality to that. I think the message people should be getting out of this whole thing is maybe because Android, unlike used to, the way this was I had to go sit there and read the 50 billion pages of the EULA, which let's face it, most people don't do. They should, but they don't. It's 50 billion pages. I was raised to read everything I sign, and when I click the agree button, it's the same as signing in my mind. But I understand people's time is precious. But in Android, it's not that hard. It's a bullet point of, I've never seen one that's more than 12 things. It's like, it takes 5 seconds of your time to go, well, why does it need access to that? No, I don't think I want that. And it's not like it says it in Geek Tech. It says access to internet, access to contact information, access to address. It says it like that. It doesn't say it access to directory XYZ AGB data. It says exactly what it is and exactly what it's doing in plain, simple English. So I personally infinitely prefer that to somebody else arbitrarily making decisions on whether or not I should have the ability to let that happen. I guess the real problem here that everyone's hyping on is, and I hate to quote Stan Lee, but with great power comes great responsibility. Yes, that's right. You, the end user, are responsible for not being a complete smeghead. But that seems to be the point nobody's getting here. And I think that's the real tragedy. I hope Google doesn't overreact and go, okay, because people are panicking, we're gonna turn Android into an iPhone to make everybody happy.
Well, here's the thing. I don't consider this that bad because it was if it's true that it was something like a screensaver app asking for the stuff that it would never need. Here's the problem. Somebody could make an app, say a contact list organizer, right? And anybody who got that would want it to have access to their contacts.
Well, it have to do its job.
Exactly, but that doesn't mean that that's the only thing it's going to do with your contact.
Well, no. But here's the thing that should come to that should come to mind. Like for what you're talking about. The red flag for me wouldn't be that it needs access to the contact information. It would be, why does something that's organizing my contact information and doing nothing but organizing my contact information also need internet access?
Well, what if it has ads in it? What if it has an ad program? So
if it's ad sponsored, I'm assuming they're spying on me anyways through some form of metrics. Let's be honest, that's what they're doing. If you're naive enough to think they're not doing that, you're naive. You're naive as all hell.
But it doesn't that they're like taking your information, but I'm saying that they could. Or if they had something where, say, it could synchronize your contacts across all your Android phones. I don't know if Google lets you do this already, probably do. But let's say there's
that's actually one of the things the tinfoil hat people don't like about Android. And it's one of those things that will wig you out a little bit on an Android device. It's not that different than what iTunes does, but it's one of those things that'll wig you out. If I have an Android device, it's linked to a Google account. So I put all the contacts in there, and unless I deliberately go into the settings of that Android device and turn off the syncing, it's syncing all that contact information and settings with the Google account in the cloud. Which means if this device, let's say, gets run over by a truck, and I go buy a new one tomorrow that's an entirely different model, and as soon as I add that Google account, it remembers all my stuff. All my contacts are there, my background image, everything is exactly as it was. And it's one of those things that wigs some people out. On the one hand, it's one of those things I have mixed feelings about personally, because there's some information I would put in my phone I don't necessarily put in my Gmail and vice versa. So I have to be mindful of that. But for people who aren't wearing their tinfoil hat and aren't paranoid about giving people's contact information out and yada yada and so forth. It is completely out of sync already.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is the problem would come when even an advanced user would let this app access that data. I mean, someone can make an app. Sure, people can make an app that will do stuff with data, but it doesn't really look like it should. But someone can make an app that actually does something good and actually will do stuff, but then it'll also do something bad. You know, like the free smileys we can get. Give you free smileys, but it also steals your credit card info. Just someone's making an app like that, then that's not really the fault of the user if that gets passed and they download it. So
well, and that is something that even in the Android marketplace is being vetted for. But at the end of the day, you know, a healthy ounce of skepticism is a good thing. And honestly, I realize there are ways to do it, but I'm not a big fan of putting... I realize there are people who do this, and this is something you can do on these devices. I'm not comfortable enough, for the reasons you're talking about, with the level of security on any of these devices, to do things like eBay or PayPal transactions or bank transactions through them. It's ironic that at right now all the major carriers are cooperatively working to test out mobile payment systems to try and address that problem. It's like AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile are doing that right now, where basically, because when I purchase an app on an Android in the Android marketplace, I don't.
Seconds ago, you just went out for like 5 seconds of sound.
Sorry, so I was saying I find it interesting that all the cell phone carriers are fixing to start testing basically mobile payment things, and it's not just AT&T or Verizon. It's AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. They're all collectively getting together to go, we need to solve this problem. Basically, what they're trying to figure out a way to do is make it so you can do all these transactions from mobile devices where that problem doesn't exist. You don't have to put in your information at all. Like when I buy an app from the Android marketplace, I don't actually put in any payment information. I've added that payment to a Google checkout account, and that's how I'm making the purchase, which means my mobile device doesn't actually know any of my bank information, and at no point do I put it in through that device. So even if somebody is trying to spy to get it, they don't have it. It's not at that node. And I really do think solutions like that, although I think we need a lot more of them. I think we need a true competition and just choose whatever service happens to work best for you. And the ability to add Service X to Google and Service X to PayPal and vice versa is what we need. But under no circumstances do I think you should be putting in login information directly via a browser or credit card or checking info especially. You just shouldn't be doing it via these devices. They're too unsecure. And that goes for the iOS phone too. It's too unsecure. That's my opinion.
Alright.
Okay. Let's see, that pretty much wraps up on the Android thing.